So, a long drive from the UK to Germany, but it's worth it. It's going to be a great week. It's the Nürburgring 24 hours week. Now, I've driven over in a Vanquish. It's been fantastic, lovely long-legged GT car, but in the spirit of old-fashioned endurance racing, I think we should drive the car that we're going to race into the circuit. Now, if I'd done that all the way from the UK, there was a risk I'd crash it and that wouldn't be cool. So Aston Martin have said I can drive the GT12 race car from this little lay-by into the racetrack. So here it is, with its livery, lots of wing. Racing cars look so out of place on the public highway. They look so naughty. So I'm going to jump in it and we're going to drive it like naughty school children into the Nürburgring. Look at this racing car. Plastic doors, roll cages. It's even got a seat on a runner. It's a proper Aston Martin. See, look. Oh, right, seat belts. Next stop, the Nürburgring. Through town in a racing car. It's quite loud. Molly road legal though? How good does that sound? The idea was to do no overtaking on the road.
This year's race was being run under difficult circumstances. A fatality in an earlier round of the VLN Championship meant that the German motorsport governing body had imposed 3 speed limits on the track, and many competitors weren't happy. But this is a big event with decades of history and momentum, and the general feeling was that people spent the 4-day race build-up moaning about the 200 km/h limit at Flugplatz, the 250 on the run down to Schwedenkreuz, and the 250 all the way down the main straight. But once the driving began on Thursday, they realised that even a slightly sanitised Nordschleife remains a huge challenge. And so to the car I'd be driving, the new Aston Martin GT12. This really is a GT12, albeit one nobbled by the regulations to produce 550 horsepower instead of the 600 you get in the street car, and it has some carbon body parts. But otherwise, this would be the most gruelling sign-off test for a street car imaginable. My teammates were Chief Nürburgring Instructor, I'm not sure you can say ring instructor, Andy Goulden, and seasoned experts Peter Kate and Oliver Mattei. The race plan was simple: spend as little time in the pits as possible, finish, and see if we could spring a surprise. The only problem was the 250 limit on the main straight really hurt us, because with far less downforce than a GT3 car and just as much power, we would have been one of the fastest machines down that straight.
Okay, we're getting there, dude. Got to do a radio check first, and I can't remember which headsets I wear. These ones fit the best, but I don't remember them working very well, so hopefully we'll find out whether they work or not. The car looks good, doesn't it?
And so to qualifying, which didn't quite go to plan. We had some issues in the first session, and the track was never completely dry, but we posted a 9-minute 52-second lap to leave us 47th overall. It was clear that we'd be bang in the middle of all the Porsche Cup cars, and beating them would be one of the aims of the weekend. Friday's quali session was a peach. We all ran a couple of laps to get some seat time, but kept lapping to a minimum to save the beast for the race. And then Andy jumped in, strapped on his largest testicles, removed his brain, and ran a 9:02 to put us 41st for the start. Of the 40 cars ahead of us, 32 were full-spec GT3 racers. That's pretty awesome in a car which drove itself into the circuit gate with number plates on. Our only issue was a faulty speed limiter, which we really needed to fix for the race. So we were perfectly placed to sit back and watch all the young guns take each other out in the first few hours and then climb the leaderboard. Well, that was the plan anyway.
Well, it's the usual N24 grid spectacular. Position 42 means we're with the big boys, and there's music and there's dancing girls and there's all sorts of madness going on. I'm not going to predict anything, I never do, but let's just hope that some of the fast ones get a bit punchy in the first hour, take themselves off, and then we will trundle on through the night. I'm in second. The build-up's been not too stressful. I want to get in the car and race it. And I've also got massively big Jack Villeneuve-style overalls, which are really comfortable and not too tight on the old knackers. So, yeah, it's going to be good fun. Neil behind the camera, on the other hand, is going to be absolutely bollocks after this one. So I look forward to seeing him at 4 o'clock on Sunday afternoon.
The race build-up on the N24 grid is about as good as it gets. For variety of machinery, for numbers of women wearing garments they really shouldn't, for the sheer number of people, it's one of my favourite hours of the year. And then the sirens sound and the people leave. And the disappearing throng reveals 3 separate grids of 60 cars, which will complete a single green flag lap of the circuit, several minutes apart from each other. And at this point, for some reason, every toilet door becomes locked as drivers pretend they're not that nervous. I'm always nervous, but mainly it's anticipation of just wanting to get the thing started. You see, we've been here 5 days already, and me and the team wanted to race. Andy Goulden takes the start, and we run him for a shorter 7-lap stint to get a good idea on fuel consumption. He loses a couple of spots, then gains them back, and maintains a place in the low 40s with consistently fast times. Minutes before I jump in to replace him, the skies darken, and on that first lap the rain begins to fall. I nearly fall off at Arenberg, then at the end of the lap it's really bad and I have to pretty much stop to avoid the guardrail. I radio in, shout something about inters and pile into the pits. It's the correct call. The rain doesn't get much worse over the next few laps, but several cars ping off the barriers and that costs a lot more time than a tyre change. I run like this for the rest of the stint, pretty amazed how good the cut Michelin sticks are on a drying track, and that the speed limiter fixed by the team the night before works absolutely perfectly. And then I hand over to Ollie, with us now in 39th position.
So that was a classic Nürburgring stint. I started out on slicks in the dry, then it rained, and then there was a call, do we go onto a wet or a cut slick? It was raining in about, I don't know, 1/4 of the circuit. So we came in for a cut slick. That was as much for car preservation because she's got a lot of power, a lot of torque, and the throttle map's quite aggressive, and we don't have traction control, so I thought, rather than be a hero and do what I do on the videos, I'd put a cut slick on and behave. So I think, net, we've not won anything, we've not lost anything, but I didn't stick it in the Armco, which is a good thing, because it's a long race. So, as David King, team manager, said, we've navigated our way through a difficult situation. And I don't know whether that's him patting on my back or him saying you were a bit slow, but there we go. I'm going to go and have a Coca-Cola now.
Watching your race position evolve at the N24 is like watching a tomato plant evolve. Slow, but immensely satisfying. The jump from a number beginning with a 4 to a 3 is somehow a huge change. Ollie's stint doesn't go to plan. He gets nauseous and has to pit early, and that's sadly the last driving he'll do in the event. It's a big loss losing someone so fast and so reliable. But then the N24 isn't like other races. It doesn't elicit normal behaviour from the drivers, the teams, or the spectators. You really need to see the place for yourself. The sheer scope of it, the madness, the beer, the people, and the cars themselves. Watching a car being driven fast around here is one of the great spectator experiences. So please sit and watch some of it now.
So far, where are we for? 8 hours into the 2015 Nürburgring 24 hours. Car 50, the Aston Martin GT12 that I'm driving with Ollie Matai, Andy Goulden and Peter Kate, is currently about 33rd. As you can see, I've just woken up, I've had a nice snooze, and I came here, it's about 10 past 12 at night. Expected to be bolted into the car in the next 20 minutes, but inclement weather means that Andy Goulden's been out on wets. I presume he started on slicks, came in after an hour, got on the wets, and it's beginning to dry out. He was on for a double stint, so they're going to triple stint him effectively, put some cut slicks on now, send him out again, so I'll be in about an hour and a bit's time. Oh look, there's full slicks going on the big car. So yeah, we're trucking on. There's still a disappointing lack of madness going on with the GT3 cars, but let's just hope that during the darkness hours they completely lose their marbles and start firing each other off. But no, we're trucking along. I think we're doing the best job we possibly could. I'm just doing that at the moment, really.
By now it was 1:30 a.m. and I was looking at the graveyard hours myself. On the first lap there was an almighty stack, and then the next lap, and then the next. I think in over 2.5 hours of driving, the only lap I completed without having to stop for a code 60 slow zone after a crash was the penultimate. I know this because on the last lap there was a huge smack at Stylestrucker and I could see the beautiful Bilstein Aston GT3 immovable by the side of the track. Somehow they get it back to the pits and it will keep running. I know marshalling is a voluntary thing, and in the most part these people do an amazing job, but in the Eiffel darkness some of the flag signalling looked to be fueled by Warsteiner. It was plain dangerous. And the speed limited sections? Well, the one at Flugplatz was always a pain, the one after that wasn't too bad, but the main straight was just terrible. I'm so used to letting a car really run to its top speed there. I don't know who was more frustrated, me or the GT12. I jumped out at 4 a.m, and as I made a cuppa, the sun came up and we were now in 23rd position. See how you gradually creep up these leaderboard things? We were getting the job done. Peter ran a double stint with no issues and handed over to Andy, who once again settled into his fast pace. I was in bed at this time and my alarm woke me for my next stint. I looked at the live timing on my phone and we'd lost several positions. I jumped on my faithful Brompton folding bicycle, pedalled over to the circuit and saw a grim-faced Peter who said Andy had crashed and it was game over. It's a cruel time to fail when the sun has risen. You feel you're on the home stretch at this point, but of course in a race like this you're only really allowed to relax when you can coast to the checkered flag.
It's now 10:12 a.m. and as you can see, gathering by my civilian clothes, I'm not driving, I should be in the car. The number 50's race is sadly over. I'm here with boss man David King, who will explain why I come to be wearing shorts and a sweat top.
Well, we had a great car, didn't we? We had a brilliant run through the night, pushing up the leaderboard, heading up towards the top 20, which was my kind of secret ambition for the car, and I believed the car was capable of doing it. And I just started to count my chickens in the early morning as the sun had risen, thinking that not so long to go in the race, and unfortunately we fell victim to the risks of the Nürburgring, and one of the other drivers, Andy, had an off at Bergwerk, which was too bad for us to continue.
Obviously I'm massively disappointed like you. I think we were the surprise package, weren't we? It's always nice to be that kind of joker in the pack. We've gone from 42nd to getting in almost to the top 20.
Yeah. I mean, I've never DNF'd a car here before. It's an unbelievably disappointing feeling, particularly because it was going so well. We'd had a completely trouble-free run through the night, through all that slippery stuff. You guys have done brilliant stints in the car, all of you, and you deserved a class win and a top 20 finish, and I'm really disappointed that we weren't able to give you that.
The package, the mechanical package, I mean there were no problems, were there? The car was absolutely trucking along. Yeah,
it's the first time we've run it in the specification. We thought we'd done a good job, but we hadn't actually come and proven it yet. And when you come to prove something in a public place like this, you take a risk that something untoward will happen that was beyond our control, really. And there was so much slippery stuff around and so many unpredictable conditions. We don't quite know exactly what caused Andy to leave the road, but unfortunately there was too much damage to the car to get it fixed to continue.
This is the crazy thing as well. When you're going down the hill into the foxhole in the middle of the night at 255, 260 clicks, you think to yourself, the people that bought one of these things, one of these 100 road versions of this GT12, have another 50 horsepower. So I think at the very least we proved it's a stunning car, and the people that have bought it are going to be over the moon, aren't they?
Oh yeah, I'm delighted with it. capabilities on the track as an almost standard car. As I was pretty confident it would. I just will never get over the disappointment of not being able to underline that with the result it deserved.
I've had a few DNFs here. Welcome to the club. I'm sorry you had to be a member of it. Think of it as the primary club, okay? But thank you for managing us. Thank you for letting us come and race. And yeah, maybe another day.
We'll have another go for sure.
Okay.
Thank you, Chris.
This wasn't Aston's year, but the plucky Bilstein GT3 came home an impressive 16th overall despite that accident, and the little V8 Vantage came in 56th overall and won its class, proving what we knew all along. If you don't crash, you'll probably get a pot at the end of the race. Congratulations to Audi for the overall win, and let's hope there are no speed limits in 2016.